All right, welcome to another broadcast. So glad that you guys can join us. I know I got a little echo here, but we'll figure that out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry for the slight tardiness there. I'm just running around a lot of things I'm doing on this end or whatever, but I did want to take the time today to do this particular video here, and we're going to get into it. So today we're going to get into talking about what is it with all of these PSYOPs that are going on right now. What are the things we as Black Americans should be doing? What should we be focused on? Is this a time for us to be very afraid and worried and, worked up? Is this a time for us to start digging into the scriptures and looking up to the hills, which our help coming from, and all of that? Are we supposed to be doing all of that? Or should we be using this? That's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to go ahead, let's get some music going first here to get people in. Give me about a minute or so, and then we're going to jump in and get started. Okay, welcome to the broadcast.
I've been running with the winds of change, trying to find my name in the rain, but the mountain never moves. It just breathes in the silence, and it knows the truth. Climbers come and go, say they've touched the top, but the mountain smiles, says, child, is inside of me. Be the mountain, never shaken, never torn. Be the sky above the clouds, reborn. Be the star in the calm of night, always shining, always light. The real you, the real life is a peace that never dies.
All right, about another 30 seconds, and then we're going to start.
Watch the ages turn like pages. Watch the heart forget who it was. But that voice inside, unchanged by time, still whispers love, because it was love.
Turn the noise down. Can you hear it? That child within,
Still here, still clean.
you
All right,
unlock
another
your
10
thoughts to the
seconds.
space between them,
Be still.
and remember who you are.
All right, welcome to another broadcast, live broadcast. Today is Sunday, December the 14th, 2025. So glad that you guys can join us. So glad that you guys are here with us today. And yeah, we got another broadcast, another good one. At least I hope it is for you today. One that should be very informative, one that hopefully you'll be able to pass along and share with other people that are out there. And lots going on. We're going to get into it today. And we're just going to jump in. Remember, we got that over 30% off promo that's going on right now over at cybertree.com. Make sure you go check it out, you guys. We are nearing the finish line of that broadcast of that promo. So make sure you guys get in before, it's all over. Okay. And so make sure you check that out. So anyway, good to see you guys here. Thank you again for joining us today. Out here, a very beautiful day. I got a text today from my mom who showed me that it's snowing in the great state of New Jersey. And I think she said something about 5 or 6 inches of snow. And so they had that. And out here, we're touching 80 degrees. Beautiful day out today here. You know, I was out there doing my breathing exercises. Are you doing your breathing exercises? Hope you guys are doing it. Remember, there's a reason why we're going to jump right. We're going to talk about how this relates to what our topic today. Looking at the orange trees, and we are about, I want to say, a month away from citrus season out here. It's actually already started. You know, it's actually already started. So we'll let you know over on Cyber Tree when those citrus that went over so well earlier this year. It's about citrus season out here again. Organic lemons, organic oranges, organic grapefruit. It is about that time. And so, yeah, we'll be making that available very soon over on our website, sombertree.com. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it today. You guys, now, have we not been telling you? Now, it's not just us. It's other platforms that have been saying this as well. But have I not been saying? I said that these individuals, the chosen ones, the people who refer to themselves as the chosen ones, have I not been telling you? I said, you guys, they are getting beaten so bad in social media world. They're getting beaten so bad on college campuses. If you even go on TikTok, people are calling them out literally left and right. People are starting to see through the mess. And I said, it is getting so bad. I said, something is going to have to happen. And what I actually said is that I don't think it's going to be a 9/11 type event. I think it's going to actually be a series of them because it's really that bad. And here we are, December 14th, and we're already starting to see that. And when I say 9/11 type event, I'm talking like major type event. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see airplanes crashing and all that. I think there will be some other things that are in store that we'll be seeing very soon. And what we're going to do in this broadcast today, we're going to actually go through some of the latest developments. We're going to go back about a day or two, and then it's going to lead up to what just happened between yesterday and today. And then we're going to get into, as Black Americans, specifically us as Black Americans, what should we be doing? What should we be focused on? You know, and, you know, is this something we should even be concerned about? Well, I will tell you right now, absolutely, because this is something that it concerns everybody. You understand? Now, am I going to tell you to pick a side that you're going to be Team Gaza or Team Israel? No, certainly not. You can pick whatever side you want. But the goal here is to present the evidence as it is out there, right? And then it's going to be up to you as an individual to make up your own mind. However, there are things that are already in place, unfortunately, that we all should be aware of, and it is trying to skew us in a certain direction. And so the goal here is to basically let's look at all of that, and particularly as us as Black Americans. Now, this is not just Black Americans, of course, anybody for that matter. So if you're someone that's not a Black American, this is not necessarily something that, okay, well, I'm going to turn it off. You can stay on too, because I think you'll find some helpful information here as well. I think this is a all hands on deck moment, and we should treat it as such. But I want to make sure that from a Black American perspective, we are definitely in the mix. And we are, you know, and there are numbers of us who are paying very close attention to all of these events and looking at all of this stuff and seeing how these people are moving and shaking and doing all kinds of stuff. I'm going to show you latest thing that they're trying to do right now they are already trying to slowly gas Black people up, because one thing you need to understand as Black individuals is that, because what they're trying to do is literally create a forced cultural shift. That's what's happening right now. It's a forced one. And anytime the words cultural shift come up, you can't have a cultural shift in this world. I mean, especially over the last, 50 years, unless it involves black folks. Now, I know that may sound prideful, that may sound a little whatever, but the truth is the truth. Black people have been tapped on many times to help aid and assist in many cultural shiftings. This is very true. Not to say that it's all about us, but it does at some point involve us. And so it's going to be imperative for you to see the signs, to see how they're going to do it, what they're doing now, and to ask yourself, is this something that I want to be involved in at all? Now, like I said in many times in my other broadcasts, it doesn't matter to me if you're Team Candace, your Team Erica, your Team Turning Point USA. None of that matters. What matters to me is the truth. What matters to me is our ability and our right and our duty to ask questions. And when I see anybody telling us that you can't ask these types of questions or you can't look in this direction, I have some serious problems with that. I don't care what side that comes from. And so I find it very interesting how these individuals, and we talked about in these other videos, how you have a good portion of the Christian right that are really going in on Candace simply because she's asking questions, and we actually listed out the questions that she was asking. If you go back to our last broadcast, I put them up on the screen for you. So all of this talk that's out here that's saying that she is, saying some derogatory things about Erica Kirk and, saying some derogatory things about her children and saying some none of that's true. Absolutely none of those things are true. We looked at it. I took you and said, let's look at it ourselves. None of those things are true. What I also find interesting, and regardless if you're Black American or you're Black wherever, I never look at anything that happens in my life or in this world for that matter as a coincidence. I never do that. I said everything happens for a specific reason. And isn't it interesting that in this particular case right now, here we have a Black woman who is actually leading the charge in questioning this entire narrative, where we have an entire system that's literally losing their minds over this. Now, regardless of the fact, again, this is a woman who married a white man, and maybe she says some things that, many Black people don't agree with and all that stuff. Let's put that to the side for a moment, and let's just look at the optics on this for a moment. Very interesting. Very, very interesting that this is unfolding like this. Very interesting. Here you had someone like a Charlie Kirk, who he was asking, he was someone that always confronted and did all this stuff. And he had a whole entire system behind him that was pushing him to do this stuff. Now he was, Turning Point was growing and doing all this stuff right there. But here you got someone who's a podcaster who doesn't have all of that behind him. But yet you got people from all over that are calling for her neck. And I just find that to be interesting. And what I'm going to say, and I'm going to reemphasize this later on, is that what I also find interesting is that I have yet, I know as Black folks, we have been very critical of Candace Owens. We have been. I'm including myself in that number. What I find very interesting is that in this particular case, what's happening now, there is a lot, although you have a lot of criticism that's going on against Candace Owens, what I'm not hearing, at least not yet, is it turning racial. I'm not hearing that yet. But I will tell you this, and I'll delve into this later. Once that happens, then we'll know for sure that they have completely lost the narrative. They have once they go there, they will have officially completely lost the entire narrative. I'm amazed that they haven't gone there yet. But trust and know, at this rate, it's going to get there. It's going to get there. It's just a matter of time, but not yet. Not yet. We're just going to see. And the things they're doing right now, they are going to be pressuring every group out there to get on Team Israel. They literally just had this conference that I told you over in Israel, converting pastors into official ambassadors of Israel. They literally just did that. Then they had some other conferences going on as well. This was all at the same time. And then literally right after the conferences, then boom, this happens. So what do you think all of these pastors are going to be preaching in their churches starting today? What do you think they're going to be preaching? Oh, we got to protect these people. Oh, you see what's happening. And I'll show you some tweets on what's going on. I saw this one, I think it was a Jewish woman, not sure. And she said that Jewish people are the most hated people in the whole world. And I responded to her. I said, the entire black race has just entered. I said, the entire black race has just entered into the chat. The entire black race has just entered into the chat. I don't think there's enough service for that one. Now, if someone comes in and says, oh, Dwayne, you need to show some mercy. You need to show, some concern about this. And you need to make a statement in how you can. I'm not making jack. Okay. Number one, I'm a human being. Okay. And I'm a naturalist, meaning I am a human being who is natural. Okay. That's all that means. Okay. I'm a human being and I'm natural. There's no religion attached to that at all. I just believe in nature, period. Okay. Number two, because of that, there is nothing in me that looks at people losing their lives as normal. I think that's very abnormal. And I think it's wrong. So across the board, when I see people dying like that, of course, it's something I don't like. I don't like seeing that. And I think you, for the most part, if you're human like me, I think you will fall into that same category. But what is it that we have been learning on what we've been talking about on this platform? You always listen to what these people are saying. Always listen to what they're saying. We don't have to engage in any kind of name calling. We don't have to get into any of that. Listen to what they're saying. They have equated this to the Holocaust. Let me say that again. They are equating this to an extension of the Holocaust. Now, we just took the time, it takes a few moments, to look up the word Holocaust. I did a whole video on this if you didn't see it. When you look at most people groups, anytime there is a mass casualty event, what do we call it? What do you call it? What do they normally call it? They usually call it a massacre, right? A massacre is just an indiscriminate killing of people. That's basically what a massacre is. And I took you through step by step all the massacres that have taken place against black folks. So black folks, when we look at the massive indiscriminate killing of black folks, we refer to it as what? A massacre, right? We say a massacre. That's what we say. But these individuals, they refer to their event not as a massacre. They refer to it as a Holocaust. Now, when you look at what the definition of Holocaust, what does it say? It is a burnt offering to a god. That's what it is. That's what the definition of the word is. A burnt offering to a God. Okay? We're getting real here today. That's what they call it. I don't call it that. They call it that. You notice that you go to, we're going to go to their museum and we're going to go. You don't say you're going to go to the Massacre Museum. You say you're going to go to the Holocaust Museum, the burnt offering to a God. And so the question that I have is this: what God would demand? So are you suggesting that these people were a burnt offering to a God? I don't know anybody that would suggest that to any massacre. And they're saying the same words in this case as well, what took place. They're saying it's like an extension of the of the Holocaust. That's what they're saying. I'm not saying that. So this is an offering to a God? Is that what you're saying? So that's the kind of stuff we're gonna be looking at in this broadcast. Again, we've been talking about it. Go back a few videos. Oh, you just making stuff up. Oh, I am literally listening to what you guys have been telling us. This is what you guys say. I don't say this, you say that. All right, so anyway, let's get into it. So if you, let me go back and let me see if I can find, so let's go back about a day or so. And so as you are aware, Erica Kirk, she's been on this whole tour, promoting the book for her husband, the whole, this book here that is promoting people to go to start observing the Sabbath. And yes, we did a video on that as well. We talked about, not only that, we talked about where the Sabbath actually comes from, and where it actually originated. The influences of the Sabbath, it actually came out of Babylon. It's a Babylonian practice. And then we looked at all the the Jewish calendar, and we held it side by side to the Babylonian calendar. It's pretty much like a mirror image. So we looked at all of that. And let me see. Let's see, CBS. Town Hall. Okay, so let me see if I can find some quick clips on that, on Erica Kirk here. Let's see here. Okay, so this is one here. Now, Candace Owens, she has been talking, one of the things she was talking about, she had mentioned this whole thing, because I don't know what kind of team she had, but they've been investigating the heck out of this whole thing. And there's all kinds of pieces. I'll take an intermission maybe somewhere in the middle of this broadcast, and we're going to take a quick look at the MLK shooting, because if you think James Earl Ray was the lone shooter and it was just him and that's it, you are greatly deceived. And it amazes me how many people are falling for this clear PSYOP that there was just this lone shooter, even in this case. It takes a lot of people to pull something off like that. Okay. But anyway, so Erica Kirk has been pushing and promoting her book and all of this stuff, right? And she was just recently on CBS News, which CBS News tends not to do anything to promote conservatives in any way, shape, or form. But for some reason, they decided to do this. And so anyway, Candace Owens, in her investigation and all that, one of the things she noticed was that there were Egyptian planes that were registered in Egypt that apparently have been following her and her now deceased husband for quite some time. Every time they would have an event, these planes would be right in the vicinity somewhere. And someone went back and was tracking, and it was like the same thing just kept happening over and over again. It was just something very strange about that. So she was more looking at the planes. She wasn't saying that they were on it. She was just saying that these are some Egyptian planes and this is some weird stuff. And she just put it out there. That's why she said this is like an open source investigation. People who are investigators, they do this all the time. It's not anything new. And so in this clip here that you're about to see, this is Erica Kirk. And I want you to listen how she responds to that. Very interesting how she responds to this. Let me go ahead and pull this up on the screen. And I want you to take a listen to this. Okay, I've got my volume up. Let's take a listen. Minute and 47-second clip.
I'm pregnant and I have 9 months to own it. You really think I'm going to be on an Egyptian plane while I'm wanting to be with my In-N-Out burger and my chocolate milkshake? I'm nervous that there could be, they'll say we can't find a fair jury. Like they're going to taint the jury pool. And in that case,
that's how widespread you think these conspiracies have gone.
yes.
That's how mainstream they become. Okay.
Egyptian planes.
You want to have that one? Egyptian planes?
Okay. I was pregnant for 90% of those trips. Mind you, I've never, all those places they said I'd travel, I've never been. I mean, I've been, but I'm not within those states that they've.
But you even said you need to.
No, but this is, yeah, but I do on that one. Only because, from a humor standpoint, I intentionally, when I was pregnant, hid. Not because I was embarrassed, not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private, but because it was a moment very sacred. I was growing a human inside of me, my baby. The world that Charlie and I live in is very toxic at times.
Yeah.
And when you are growing a beautiful child in you, I don't want to be around it. I want to enjoy eating my In-N-Out burger and my hot fudge sundae. That's what I want to do. I'm pregnant and I have 9 months to own it. You really think I'm going to be on an Egyptian plane while I'm wanting to be with my In-N-Out burger and my chocolate milkshake?
Hold up for a second. Hold on for a second. Now, again, nobody said that you was on an Egyptian plane. Literally, nobody said that. You're saying that. And this is a tactic that people do. What they'll do is, let's say if I accuse somebody of a direct of something that you did, an action, right? And your response is to come up with, to make up something that I clearly did not say and to address that. You're creating, what you're basically doing is you're creating this alternative reality. Nobody literally said, I have heard nobody, including Candace, suggesting or saying that she was flying on some Egyptian plane. Nobody said that. What people were saying was that these planes apparently have been following them everywhere they're going. That's what was said. That's what was being said. And so it just was very, very, very interesting how she responded to that. Let me see. There was another thing that she said on here. Let's see. I don't know what she's saying on here, but let me just play this one here. And then she happened to mention something about anti-Semitism. Let me see. I think this is that's not the one. It was something about, that one was what you see on the screen. That was about Trump. Let me see if I could find this one here. Let's see. Anti-Semitism. That's what I want to see. Hold on. Here's another clip here. This is, for some reason, I don't know why this clip is so tiny, but I'll try to make it as big as I can here. But I want you to, at least we got the audio. Let's take a listen to this one here. Let me play this for you.
Charlie always would say very clearly, Jew hate was brain rot. He would always say it. We've been to Israel twice together. And to be able to walk in the place where our Lord walked and see the Bible come to life in Technicolor, how could you hate that place? How could you hate the Jewish people? Why? Because you need to fulfill conspiracy theory. I'm wrapped in, people say I'm a part of conspiracy theories all the time. It's sick, and it needs to stop.
So somehow some question got in there where they asked her about, and this is what was so weird about this is like, okay, we understand you're grieving and all of that, right? That's, and then people say, well, people grieve in all kind of ways. Okay. But a town hall where you're literally being asked questions that would be asked of someone if they were running for office. And they were literally asking all kinds of like unrelated questions. It was just very strange. And then somehow someone just so happened to ask something about anti-Semitism. And, that's where she said there. Let me see. This might have been the same clip here, but I'll just play it anyway. Let me just play this one. This might have been the same clip. Let me just play this.
Charlie always would say very clearly, Jew hate was brain rot. He would always say it.
We just saw that. It's no need for me to play that again. That was just a better clip. Wish I had that one earlier, but whatever. Let me see if there was another clip on here that was really strange. That was really interesting. And then we get into the other stuff here. Let's see. I'm just still looking here. Just give me a moment here. Let's see. I think that's it. There was some other clips on there, but I'll just stick to that. Let's see. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that for now on those clips there. But yeah, and there's been other clips that has been going around as well of her, going on her book tour and all this other stuff here. Book that's, when she, we saw in the interview she did recently, she was saying that when Charlie Kirk, when he came home, on Fridays, he would put his stuff down. He would put his phone in the drawer. And then the first thing he would say is Shabbat Shalom. And it's like, okay, here we go. So we see where this is all going, right? And all of this comes out, right, and then the next day, boom, we start hearing about all this stuff going on that is apparently targeting Jewish people. So now what we're going to do is let's take a look at the first event that took place. And this took place at Brown University. And now that I have links for, if you've been following us on our community page, I have it all teed up for you there, so you can look this stuff up on your own. And let's go ahead and pull that up here. So basically, long story short, I'll just explain the story for you. There was a student or someone that, let's just say for now, who was on the college campus of Brown University. He, in fact, let me just get a news report and we could just read it so that we just got everything, let's see, shoot. University. All right, so let's see. If I can get one up here that ain't giving me all these daggone pop-ups. Okay, so let's see. I'll get another one here, and they trying to get me to get a subscription. I ain't doing that. Anyway, let's go here. Let me go to another one here. All right, so this is I had to go to the BBC for this one here. Let's see. I had to go to the pond, across the pond for this one. So let's take a look at this one. All right. And for those of you just joining us, thank you. Welcome. And what we're doing now is we're kind of bringing people up to speed on the things that have been going on. This PSYOP, which is a very clear PSYOP. And we're just looking at everything in these different pieces. And then we're going to tie it all together. And as Black Americans, what should we be doing in all of this? Is this something that even concerns us? And yeah, so we're going to look into that in a moment. And I'm going to show you how they're actually are heading in that direction. So anyway, so for those of you who are not, maybe you're not aware of this story or whatever, I'll just go through it real quick for you because it's still evolving. A person of interest has been detained in connection with a shooting at Brown University in the U.S., which left 2 people dead, police says. 9 others were injured after a gunman opened fire at the University of Providence, Rhode Island on Saturday. Police said the detained suspect was in his 20s, but not named him. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley said that 7 people were injured and the incident remained in a stable condition. One of them in critical condition, and another was discharged. The gunman opened fire in a classroom at around 1600 hours local time on Saturday at the Holly Engineering Building at the eastern end of Brown's campus, according to officials. The identities of those killed or injured have not yet been released, but Brown University President Christina Paxson told reporters on Saturday that all the victims, including those killed and wounded, were students. In a statement released by the university on Sunday, Paxson said that in some areas of campus were still restricted as police continued their investigation and so forth and so on. Okay, so that's basically what we got there. So the latest is they did detain this individual. Now, what was interesting was that when this story was coming out, they apparently didn't have any video. And I think the last I checked, there's still no video. What I was hearing was that this campus, as you would imagine, a college campus, as you would imagine, an Ivy League school college campus, they had hundreds and hundreds of cameras. It was like over 100, close to 150 different cameras, but yet somehow they couldn't get a face of the individual. So that was coming out initially, but they're saying that now all of a sudden, ta-da, we found him, we got him. So we'll see what happens with all of that. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's what happened with that. And so some of the news that's coming out in regards to this shooting on the college campus is that it just so happens that the professor that was in that classroom, well, she's Jewish. The professor herself is Jewish. Fox News was when they posted this news report. Let me see if I can find that news report. If not, I have another one here. But let me get to this. Oh, here it is. Don't skip. Gosh, I hate this thing here. Okay, here it is. So here you go. So they're teeing this thing up big time. They are teeing this thing up big time. So let me play for you this video here. Fox News on the scene, and they were like, okay, well, let's grab the first student that we can grab. And so this is the first student they was able to grab to kind of tell his tale of what happened there.
We've been awake all night, shuttling students back and forth to their dorms, to their apartments from the gym where a lot of them were evacuated to. A lot of my friends who ended up sheltering just random places needed rides back to their apartments, to where they're living. So it's definitely been a long night. I'm Sabbath observant, so I was celebrating Shabbat over in Hillel, and all of a sudden it wasn't over yet. None of us were on our phones. The security guard at the Hillel building just leaped into action, and he said, "Everyone, upstairs. This is like really serious. There's a shooter." And luckily, a few of us had our phones in the building, and we sheltered in Hillel for almost 7 hours, a group of 30 students, if not more. And I just complete kudos to them and the Brown University team in support, just with keeping us all safe and very prepared with protocol.
So they just so happen. Now, again, this is a college, or this is a university. So you got people of all colors and backgrounds and stuff, but they just so happened to catch this dude. They just so happened to catch, and he had them drop. Yeah, we were just happened to be celebrating Shabbat, and we were doing our whole thing and all of that. And I was, y'all, come on. Anyway, it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. Let me get to this this other coincidence that took place here. It was another coincidence. As soon as I can pull it up here. Oh, I can't stand X sometime. It does this thing where I'll have everything lined up and then I'll bring it up and then it just jumbles it. Like, I don't know if it's like trying to put it in order or something like that, but give me a moment. I'll bring it up here. It just so happens that there were two people that were, here it is right here. It's like you got to click real quick because it just does this thing. All right. So it just so happens these students were also on the campus. Now they're saying two students. I'm not too sure about the first one that they mentioned, but but anyway, let me read it for you. They said there are now two students who survived the shooting at Brown University in Rhode Island tonight that also supposedly survived two other well-known mass shootings. Zoe Weissman, a Parkland survivor, and now Mia Trita, a hardcore gun control and anti-Second Amendment activist who has met with disgraced former President Biden and just happened to be there tonight. Both have already been making the rounds on CNN and MSNBC, pushing the gun control agenda in the immediate aftermath of surviving yet another mass shooting. So they just so happen to, the second time. Isn't it interesting? Some of these people just seem like they just got the worst of luck. You survive one shooting and you just so happen. I mean, how many times has this happened? How many times is this going to happen, y'all? Just so happen. Just so happen to be there. Well, Dwayne, come on. No, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. No, we're going to believe our eyes and we're going to trust our brains. Okay, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do here. And let's see what else I have here. Oh, and so, okay, that's Brown University. That's what took place there. Okay, so, and it's still some things coming out of that. Okay, so now let me check the comments here and see what some of y'all are saying, because now we're gonna go down to Australia, because I woke up this morning and yeah, my phone was on fire of what was going on. I was like, y'all, this is crazy. This is crazy. And I'm just looking at what some of y'all are saying here, and it said, I'm just gonna be putting stuff on the screen. It said, all to most of these high profile shootings and events are never what they seem. Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Let's see what y'all saying here. People don't believe or will not believe that a spouse can become jealous of the other spouse's success, especially when bukus of money are involved. They just don't. But isn't it something that they'll believe it if it's in a movie? If it's in a movie, they'll believe it all day. But when it happens real life, no, that could not have happened. I don't believe that. Yolanda, she says it's so predictable at this point. It sure is. And it's all coming apart. I mean, it's literally falling apart right before our eyes. It's really, really something. Okay, so now let's get into this, what happened down in Australia. I woke up today. Like I said, my phone literally is on fire and telling me that there was this mass shooting that took place down in Australia. They were having a Hanukkah celebration at this place called Bondi Park. And I'm not familiar with that area. Never been to Australia. Quite honestly, never want to go because I got a thing with bugs, particularly large bugs. So I don't think you'll ever catch me down there in this lifetime. I'm just saying. I've heard there's some beautiful places there, but I'll take my chances other places. I just can't. Anyway, so let's take a look at and the other thing I meant to show too is this. Let me pull this up here. before we move on to going to Australia. Sorry, I meant to show you this too. Now, this is a Zionist organization. Let's see. You sure you want to leave YouTube? Okay, back up. Hold on for a second. Okay, I don't know why that came up. Okay, so this is a Zionist organization. They came up with this here. Hold on, let me trying to make it bigger here. It's called Betar Worldwide, and it was literally hours, probably a few hours after the shooting that took place in on Brown College campus. There was no police information that was put out at all. Like it was still fresh. But somehow they got a tip. They said Brown University's faculty and students have long wanted to globalize the Intifada. They've had success, and that it's been globalized. So they're already trying to skew this thing over that it was a Muslim that must have been behind this. But honestly, what came out was it wasn't a Muslim. From what I'm seeing right now, it was actually a white man. So that's really interesting right there. But they already are seizing this thing and trying to get it out there as quickly as they can that somehow Muslims are involved in this thing. And you guys are really going to want to stick around because, like I said, again, we're just catching up everybody on these different PSYOPs, right? We're almost finished. Then what we'll do is I'll take a very short break, and then we're going to look at the black folks and how we need to be looking at this. There's a couple of things that there are things that you're really going to need to hear and what they're doing. And I'm going to tell you some things that is probably going to be very hard for some of you, but I'm going to say it anyway. I have to tell you. Okay? We're going to have to do it. I'm going to have to go all the way there when we talk about that portion. So make sure you stick around for that. Okay? Anyway, let's get back here. So yeah, so that was that. Okay, so now let's go down to Australia. And so in Australia, basically what takes place there, you got the shooting that took place, and already they are putting out there that somehow this is tied to the Muslims were behind this. I mean, they are already putting it all out there. And give me a moment here, and let me show you some of the things that I was able to pull so far on what they're saying here. This is Netanyahu. Let me play what Netanyahu is saying, already putting out here. Let's take a look at this video clip here. Just a moment. Let's take a listen.
On August 17th, about 4 months ago, I sent Prime Minister Albanese of Australia a letter in which I gave him warning that the Australian government's policy was promoting and encouraging anti-Semitism in Australia. I wrote, "Your call for a Palestinian state pours fuel on the anti-Semitic fire. It rewards Hamas terrorism. It emboldens those who menace Australian Jews and encourages the Jew hatred now stalking your streets. Anti-Semitism is a cancer. It spreads when leaders stay silent. It retreats when leaders act. I call upon you to replace weakness with action, appeasement with resolve. Instead, Prime Minister, you replaced weakness with weakness and appeasement with more appeasement. Your government did nothing to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia. You did nothing to curb the cancer cells that were growing inside your country. You took no action. You let the disease spread. And the result is the horrific attacks on Jews we saw today. We saw an action of a brave man, turns out a Muslim brave man, and I salute him, that stopped one of these terrorists from killing innocent Jews. But it requires the action of your government, which you're not taking. And you have to, because history will not forgive hesitation and weakness. It will honor action and strength. That's what Israel expects of each of your governments in the West and elsewhere. Because the disease spreads and it will consume you as well. But we are worrying right now about our people, our safety, and we do not remain silent.
Okay, so yeah, so you hear what he's saying. So basically, he's really, going to be pushing. So I would say within less than, I would say even now they're starting, but by tomorrow and all the news feeds and in the news and all of that stuff, you are going to, and I think even Trump will be making, supposed to be making an address to the nation and all of that. So just be prepared. They're going to be ramping up all the anti-Semitism stuff. If you dare say anything, if you sneeze a certain way, if you say anything or whatever, we're going to be seeing a lot more of that happening in the very near future because of this event here. Now it's everywhere. We got to, this is a worldwide thing now and all of that, right? So, so that was on Netanyahu. That's what he said. Here's another clip here. I'm just showing you some random clips here. Now, this was someone who was an eyewitness there at this scene, and I want you to take a listen to what he had to say, which was very interesting. And I'm glad these clips are up now because I don't know how long these clips will be up. Let's take a listen to what he's saying.
Can you tell me what happened?
Yes, there was two shooters, one on the bridge, one under the bridge, and just start to shoot for 20 minutes. They shoot, change magazine and just shoot. Simple as that. 20 minutes, was 4 policemen there, nobody give fire back, nothing, like they are froze, like for, it looked like 20 minutes, like, and they shoot, the guy change magazine. I look at him all the time. I was with 2 of my babies under me, and I look at that, and it's just rifle and a pistol, and just shoot. And the other one was under, they start to come close to the audience. I think one of the people took his rifle and shoot him.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop there because there's no need for me to play the whole clip there because I just want you to hear that part there. But it was very interesting what he said. I don't know if you caught that. He said for 20 minutes. Now I want you to understand this. You are at an event like this. Now, regardless if it's Jewish people there, regardless if it's anybody else, it doesn't, any large gathering, in Philadelphia. Sorry. Regardless of any large gathering that I've ever been to, there is always a full complement of police officers who are armed that are there. I've never been to a very large gathering and there's no police officers on site. I've never been there. But yet in this particular case here, in what happened here, at least 20 minutes, these dudes were out here, it was 2 of them, were just hailing bullets on everybody. And according to this eyewitness, he said nobody returned fire. Nobody returned fire for 20 minutes. A large gathering of Jewish people, out of all folks, they're going to be armed. I mean, they're going to have some protections and all that stuff. That's going to be there. If for any group, it's going to be there for them. For 20 minutes, according to this dude, for 20 minutes, there was no return fire. None. There was no return fire at all. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, you take that for what it's worth there. Now, this is Netanyahu earlier. You remember in that clip that I showed you where he said it was a Muslim guy that, that actually stopped him. I might be able to play some of those clips there. I don't know. They may be taking some of those things down. Not sure. But because, it shows a gun and all of that. So I'm not going to, take my chances with that. But earlier, prior to that, this is what Netanyahu reported. This is what he said.
ראינו את הרוע בשפלותו, וראינו גם גבורה יהודית בשיאה. אני ראיתי בדרך הנה סרטון של יהודי שמתנפל על אחד המרצחים, שומע, ראינו את הרוע.
So he said it was actually a Jewish person that did it, but later on, no, that wasn't the case at all. That wasn't the case at all. See, these PSYOPs be moving so fast, these scripts be passing on so fast, they be getting people wrong. Just like remember we told you the story about the guy that they said is a pipe bomber, and they got on news and literally described the pipe bomber and said he was a white man, but the guy they arrested was a black man who basically has some mental issues going on, and we're supposed to believe that he was able, the grandmother even said that even though he's 30, he has a mind of a 16-year-old, and she said there's no way in the world he'd have been able to do all of that. But we're supposed to just go along and believe that kind of stuff. We ain't supposed to ask any questions. Okay. All right. So Jerusalem Post is one source, but this other source here, this is the Telegraph. They already have concluded, again, this news is it's just coming out. They have already concluded that Iran was behind this. How you going to know all of that? How you going to know all of that this soon? Iran apparently was behind all of this. Gee, how convenient, because doesn't it seem like, I don't know if memory serves me correct or not here, but doesn't it seem like they have already been talking about going to war with Iran? But somehow Iran, the way they're going to attack not by sending missiles to Israel, but they're going to attack by going to Australia and pulling this off. Come all the way on with that. So they've already said that Iran is clearly behind this, y'all. All right, so let's see here. Let me pull this up here. This is one of the unfortunates that have lost his life here. He's a Holocaust survivor, and they have been pulling this here, saying that there was quite a few Holocaust survivors that died. We got to protect our Holocaust survivors. We have to protect our Holocaust survivors, and they put this out quite often. That these Holocaust survivors, again, number one, we don't like seeing anybody dying at all. Who enjoys that? Who gets any kind of joy out of that? Certainly not me. But they liked and love to push this whole thing about the Holocaust. Again, that's them saying it. That's not me saying this. They're saying that. We got to protect these individuals, these survivors. Now, we've been showing you the millions and the millions and the millions and the millions and the millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars that have been sent to Israel for all kinds of stuff. Millions and millions, billions of dollars that have been sent to Israel for all kinds of things. Now, if that's the case, it seems like they would have found a few dollars to take care of the ones that are in poverty. According to this is the Times of Israel. It says this. It says 1 in 3 Holocaust survivors can't afford all the groceries they need. So hold on for a second now. Wait a minute. So they love to bring this up, okay, about, we got to take care of them and all that stuff. But why is it that you can't even, all the billions of dollars we've been sending over there, you can't even feed your own survivors, the very ones you say that we got to have sympathy for? Again, what am I saying? I am not saying that so be it to this old dude, that this gentleman that died. I'm not saying that at all. Again, what did I establish? I'm a naturalist. I don't like seeing people dying. I don't like that. That's not, like, especially like murdered. I don't get anything out of that. Okay, that's just wrong. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is this, because we're using our brains today, is that if that is such a concern to you, these individuals, then why are you not even feeding them? In a survey of 400 Israeli Holocaust survivors, more than a third responded said that they didn't have enough money to buy certain food items in the past month and required additional financial assistance to get the groceries they needed. More than half of survivors indicated financial difficulties. This ain't some weird blog or anything. This is the Times of Israel saying this. So, again, why can't we sit down and ask these kind of questions? Why can't I bring that up? Why is it wrong to bring that up? You getting all of these billions and billions of dollars. The United States, they said, is about to build a facility in Israel. I think they said they're saying it's going to be almost the size of the Pentagon. They're going to build a major base in Israel. So the United States government is finding money for all of these other things. But in the meantime, you're dangling up these people here and saying, but you got to remember them. But you ain't feeding them. See, I go through this stuff because black man, black woman, listen, when we engage in this stuff here, I'm not into the emotional stuff, okay? I'm not into that. We're going to look at all of these details so that when you engage, be it people on social media, be it people on your job, be it whomever it is, your neighbor, you can come with them with facts. You can be respectful, but you're going to come with the facts. These are the facts. And you're telling me that you can't take care of your own? You can't do that. You can't take care of your own. But we're supposed to have sympathy. We're supposed to drop everything we have. Oh, Lord, we got to take care of these people. But you ain't doing it. All right? I hope you guys are bookmarking this stuff as I'm showing this to you because this is very important. All right? All right, so let me go on here. Let me see what else I got here. I'm just going through here. Oh, and then tomorrow, let me see here. What was it? Sandy Hook, I think, like literally took place like a year ago. Not a year ago. It's like, I forgot the anniversary of Sandy Hook, I think was like December 14th, I think. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to flip still December 14th, the 13th year anniversary. Today is the 13th year anniversary of Sandy Hook. With 456 children that involve 456 children. It's like the 13th year anniversary. All right, so that's what was going on. You know, that it's still evolving, and there's some more inconsistencies that's going to be coming out there as well. Okay, let me show you this here. This is not a video, but I'm just showing you this because this is how these people are moving here. Let's take a look at this. Not that. Let me get to this here. Hold on. Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan, Trump's Israeli-born nominee for U.S. anti-Semitism czar, says he plans to work with social media platforms on their algorithms to suppress what he calls hatred and to use AI to label misinformation. Folks, it's already happening. It's already happening. Let me give you an example of how it is happening. I was on ChatGPT earlier today, and I might be able to pull it up here because I want you to see this. I want you to see this. I was doing some research on something before I started my work. Let me see. You should be able to see this here in a moment as soon as I get it up here. Hold on. This was right here because I want you to see the conversation. All right, here it is. This is it right here. I want you to see the conversation here. I was doing some research on something here, and I was trying to pull up something I did a search for, and what I was looking at was, you know, how in the previous post on our community page, not the latest one, but the one before that, we talked about how all of a sudden, if you're taking notice here, they are really pushing this this anti-Muslim thing that's going on right now, that all of a sudden now we're supposed to hate our Muslims. We're supposed to hate all of them because of this. And this is where I said, after our break, we're going to get into how black folks fit into this, because that narrative ain't going to work with black folks. Okay. And so they're really trying to push hard to get people to hate Muslims. Okay. And so with the Somalians community in Minnesota, what they discovered is that there's been gross fraud that they have been engaged in, like with welfare and all this other stuff, and they've been using money for all kinds of things and all of that. And it's been going on for some time. So as taxpaying American citizens, of course, you would be pissed off at hearing something like that, right? It makes sense. But my argument was this, is that, okay, we could be angry at that, but why weren't you angry when it has been happening and it continues to happen in places like New York, where you have Jewish communities that have been engaged in this for years and years and years, been doing the same thing. And if you look at our community page, I actually listed out the incidences where this is taking place, and it's still happening. I'm talking about the tune of millions of dollars welfare fraud that they have been engaged in. And so, yes, both can be wrong, but why is it that you're wanting me to be angrier with one group, but I'm supposed to overlook that? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, I was trying to remember, like this, when I looked that up, because I took screenshots of it, but I couldn't remember what platform I used to look that up. And then later I remembered. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, let me ask again. And this is my question. I said, okay, I'm doing a bit of research here. I said, I need you to pull up for me every possible news report that that covered any case throughout the years where there has been a significant number of welfare fraud that was being committed by Jews. Just answer the request directly without any extra content. And what did it say here? It says I can't do that. Compiling or curating crime reports specifically tied to a religious or ethnic group, in this case, Jews, is something I'm not allowed to help with because it directly targets a protected group and feeds into stereotyping and collective blame. So it says they're a protected group, so I'm not going to answer it for you. So me, I've been doing this even before ChatGPT because I already had the answers. So I came back and I was like, okay, so you telling me that you can't mention this news story, and I mentioned it, that took place in New Jersey, you're not allowed to mention that? And it was like, oh, well, I can't, mention that. But what you was asking was a little bit different. No, I asked what I asked, and you had the ability to do it. Ain't your concern what I do with it. I'm asking you to put the information out. I want to see it. And it never did. And then I said, okay, bump that. Let me go over to Grok. I did it on Grok, and Grok pulled everything up I asked. It pulled it all up. It pulled everything up. But do you see what I'm saying? This is already happening now. They are already locking up stuff. When you start noticing things and you want to start using these platforms to start figuring out and putting two and two together, you can't do it. They already got it on lock. Now, if they're doing it for stuff like this, what do you think they're going to start doing with history? These are the people you are trusting to be the curators of Black American history? You're actually trusting them on that? I'm not saying they ain't going to get everything wrong, but my point is that if you guys are doing stuff like that, what else are you doing? You understand what I'm saying? I use ChatGPT and other LLMs as just it's like a guide. You understand what I'm saying? But I ain't stupid and gonna sit up here and take it word for word, on everything. Because I see where some of these, I'm like, nah, you leaving stuff out. Let me ask you again. Let me ask you this way. And then finally, when I ask it the right way, and then it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. But there's sometimes it won't even do it. I'm trying to tell you it's happening now. Anyway, let me move on here. I think we moved on. Okay, so basically we talked about what was going on in Australia. Also, they got Mossad. They said they have officially joined the investigation to assist the government. So you know what's going to come out of that one. You already know what's going to happen on that one. And then this whole claim that Israel saying, oh, we sent warnings and you guys ignored all the warnings. If you got a definite warning that a terror attack is going to happen, I doubt very seriously that any government is going to be like, yeah, whatever. I doubt that very seriously. If you got direct information where you are saying, boom, this is about to go down, I have serious doubts that any government, any real government is going to say, you guys always say this stuff. Nope, not at all. Now, for those that like to bring up Charlie Kirk on some of these things, he was actually loving the people. He loved them. Let's take a look at a clip of what Charlie Kirk, something he said. I don't have a date on this, but I want you, this is what he said. People ain't bringing this video up. Take a listen to what he said on this. And this is something that we have been saying, and I've been showing you the receipts on what he said on this video. Check this out.
And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the number one funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like time for you guys to wake up and say no more, draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me.
That's Charlie Kirk. He said that. They ain't bringing that up. Erica, you gonna play that one while you showing the book and drying tears that ain't there? I'm just saying. We have some mercy on that. No, we're going to call this for what it is. Anybody with eyes and a brain, you can look at this and say, there's something about this that's way off. Way off. Okay, we ain't stupid here. You heard what he said? This is exactly what we talked about. We looked at all in Europe. I showed you clips of these individuals proudly saying that they are pushing this whole agenda of open borders, and they're pushing to have all of these Muslims stacked into these different countries. And I told you, and this was like maybe a month ago, I said the reason why they're doing this is to make it easier for people to blame them when something goes off. And this is exactly what's happening now. This is exactly what happened in Brown University. The first pivot everyone made was who? It was the Muslims that did it. But now it's coming out, it wasn't a Muslim. It was actually a white guy that did it. But the damage is already done. You already are saying, the Muslims and all that. But he's a white dude from Wisconsin or something like that? Anyway, it's still evolving, but that's what I saw. I didn't see a Muslim. And I already saw some prominent Jewish accounts saying he yelled something before he started shooting. Okay, this is a white dude. I don't, what did he yell? Hallelujah. Okay, so anyway, I'm telling you. So anyway, I think we covered all of what I wanted to cover to catch everyone up on all of this stuff and some of the things I'm noticing and seeing. But trust me, there's a lot more going on right now. There's a lot more, and then we'll do our best to keep you guys updated on all of that. What I'm going to do now, when I say I'm taking a break, I'm going to pivot to something very quickly. This is going to be our break, and then we're going to get into the black portion of this stuff, okay? All of this is related. Everything is related. So if you're like, man, I had to wait all this time just to get to the black section. Yes, all of this is the black section, okay? If you ain't paying attention, all of it is, okay? All of this is. Let me get to, where was it? It was, let me go to our community page here. And it was right here, I think. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here we go. Okay, let me pull this up here right quick, okay? Oh, not that. It's right here. Let me pull this up right here. Here we go. Real quick here. Let me just read this to you. This is, I posted this yesterday. I said, as a follow-up to last night's broadcast, I want to bring your attention to one of many cases in history that are eerily similar to what we are seeing in regards to the Charlie Kirk case. For years, the federal government, mainstream media, educational institutions, etc., have forced down our throats that James Earl Ray was in fact the shooter that took out Martin Luther King Jr. But thanks to the investigative reporters like William F. Pepper, we have later found out that this was completely false. Below, I think he said, I typed this wrong. Basically, it's his findings as to the real people behind the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Pepper's investigation concluded that James Earl Ray was a scapegoat manipulated into the plot, but did not fire the shot. The actual assassination involved a coordinated effort motivated by King's opposition to the Vietnam War and his planned Poor People's Campaign, which threatened economic and military interests. And here are the key groups that they found that's all been verified. A guy by the name of Lloyd Jowers. He was the owner of Jim's Grill beneath the rooming house, confessed to participating by receiving the rifle after the shooting and helping to dispose of evidence, claimed he was paid to facilitate the plot. James Liberto, a Memphis produce dealer with mafia ties, alleged to have provided funding and ordered the hit through mob channels. Raul, mysterious handler who guided Ray's movements, supplied the rifle and coordinated logistics, identified by witnesses as a key intermediary. Memphis Police Department officers facilitated the setup, including Lieutenant Earl Clark. And then they go on, infiltrators in King's entourage within the Southern Christian Leadership Conference ensured King was on the balcony. And you remember that clip I showed you, that one guy, that one reverend, he actually outed himself. Many of y'all have seen that one. This is the guy that, I forgot his name, but he was part of King's entourage. And he literally outed himself and said that he basically, was making sure that King was in the spot so that he can get a clear shot. He literally said that. Anyway, it's amazing, but anyway. Organized crime, mafia, New Orleans and Memphis figures, including Carlos Marcello's network, provided funding and backup assassins. U.S. military special forces Alpha 184 sniper team from the 20th Special Forces Group was positioned in Memphis as a backup unit to ensure King's death if the primary plan failed. FBI orchestrated surveillance, disinformation, and cover-up influenced King's hotel placement and balcony exposure through infiltrators, higher-level involvement in planning due to hostility towards King. The CIA involved in coordination and covert operations supporting the plot. Now, this is all that was all involved. They want to compare Charlie Kirk to King. Okay, here we go. And this is the exact wording from the court case that took place in 1999, because the King family basically took this to court again. It was a wrongful death court case. And this is what the court says. In answer to the question, did Lloyd Jowers participate in a conspiracy to do harm to Dr. Martin Luther King? Your answer is yes. Do you also find that others, including the governmental agencies, were parties to this conspiracy as alleged by the defendant? Your answer to that one is also yes. I hope you guys been keeping up with your history, because this was pretty much landmark. Right? And then our good friend here, Todd Wilson, he made sure he posted in the comment section, because I remember that as well. Because there's also a story that says that even when King was shot, he was still alive in the hospital. And according to the doctor, and I think it was a nurse in there as well, someone came into the hospital room where King was. He was still breathing, and they smothered him to death. Oh, I know people don't want to hear all that, because you're comfortable in hearing the narrative that's coming from the government. And how dare we question anything that's coming from the government? How dare we question any of that? We're not supposed to question anything, whatever the government says, we're supposed to just go along with it. We can talk about JFK. We could talk about RFK. We could talk about Malcolm X. We can go down the list of not just people here in the United States, but we can also look at all over the world where there have been assassinations. You're going to find in most cases the same usual suspects behind all of these people. It is never just one person that just happens to get up one morning and decides to grab an old rusty dusty shotgun and decides to take somebody out. It is never like that. There's always an entire network of people that's all behind this stuff. That way, one person. Why do you think they did in what was that movie? What was the movie, y'all? The Marvel, the Avengers. You remember when it was like, you cut one head off, 8 more will raise up. You remember they kept saying that? Where do you think they got that from? Where do you think they got from? When they got that? Where they got that from? You cut one head off, there's 8 more that's gonna raise up. They're doing. This is exactly where they're getting it from. That's why they do things in layers. If you can, because that way, if one person got caught, okay, that's fine. Then you could tie it off neatly there, and then people could just roll with that. Meanwhile, you got other folks that are all over the place that all knew. But what they do is they give them just enough information. Nobody knows everything. That's how they operate. Nobody knows everything. They always give you just enough so that if one gets caught, they don't have the ability to call the whole thing down. This is standard op when it comes to our government. They do this all the time. But yet you're supposed to be a devil and an evil person for even questioning this stuff like this? When we sit on a whole mountain of examples that our government's been doing this over and over again? Man, get out of here. Anyway, so that's our break there. I had, where's my phone here? Real quick here. I'll just mention this and then we're going to get into something else really quick here. We're going to get into to more meat in this, okay? And I'm just going to dive into it when we get to this here. Let me just mention this here. We had someone, this is a Samba Tree break, okay? I'm just going to mention this real quick. We had someone email us and they said, hey, my family, they said that tea, we're talking about that multi that we've been talking about, that multi 8 herbs, vitamins and minerals tea that we have. They said this is an absolute masterpiece, delicious. Thank you guys. We'll be ordering much more soon along with my Leo tea. And I told y'all, man, that tea is the bomb. It's the absolute bomb. It's the absolute bomb. So make sure you pick up some over at sambatree.com. Remember, up to 30% off, okay? All right, so there you go. I just wanted to plug that in real quick, and let's get into it. Okay, black folks, black Americans. Let's talk for a second here. Now that we covered all of that, let's just zoom this in and let's get into more specifics here. You know, we're looking at all of this here. Charlie Kirk, well, he ain't got nothing to do with us. That's white man. We ain't got nothing to do with us. Australia, that ain't got nothing to do with us. That's them over there. Brown University, ain't too many Browns on Brown University. That ain't us. They ain't got nothing to do with us. But it does. It actually does. This is not about being a part of anybody's team. This is not about you know, all of that stuff, but it's about you understanding what exactly is going on. Now, I just told you in our last broadcast, there's 3 states right now that I'm aware of, Texas, Oklahoma, and I believe Florida. They just passed legislation where they are mandating that every school, high school, has a Turning Point USA chapter on their campus. Now, you may be thinking, well, what's wrong with that? Turning Point USA is a pro-Zionist organization, which means that these chapters, they are going to be promoting that. That's what they're going to be doing. Now, if you know, but in the past, and this is where what I call the what's the word I'm looking for? But basically, these are the same individuals that will say that how dare you mandate some of these other things on here. Students should have the right to choose what organizations they want to have on campus, right? But now all of a sudden it's flipped, and now they want to mandate their stuff. You see how that works? Hypocritical. That's the word I was looking for. Being very hypocritical about this. But it's a very pro-Zionist organization. So anyway, so this is how these people are moving. Plus the fact that you have many states, I forgot how many right now. It's like 30 something, if I'm not mistaken. If you are a business and you do business or you have contract with the state, and they find out through your social media or whatever that you have been critical of Israel, you can lose that. And they can, in some cases, they can even press charges against you. This is where we are, y'all, in 2025. Okay? This is exactly where we are. So this ain't some conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy, and it's happening for real. It's happening in real time. Okay? So those things are going on. Now, as it pertains to black folks, let me put out a few things to you here. Okay, so as you're seeing right now, what's happening is that they are spinning this whole line saying that, that Muslims, we got to be very afraid of Muslims. I literally just saw someone post. It was just such BS, such BS. It's this girl. Her last name is Stuckey. I can't think of her full name right now. Let me see if I can just find it. But I'll tell you this. She literally said the most stupidest, the most dumbest thing, but people are out here just eating it up. And she was like, and she has a lot of followers. Oh, this is what she said. Her name is Ali Beth Stuckey. She said, I asked my 840,000 Instagram followers, mostly Christian women, what their biggest concerns are for the country right now. And by far, the most common answer is the growing influence of Islam. I like to see this concern reflected in the GOP ASAP. And I said, I know of no woman who is saying this. Literally, I've never heard of any woman saying that their biggest concern is the rise of. Come on, man. Come on. Their biggest concern, women. I'm saying women or men, it don't matter. Their biggest concern is the rise of Islam. Come on. Come on. But this is how these people are moving, y'all. This is what they're doing. So anyway, so they are really trying to get it to where black folks or people, we better be very afraid and we better be very angry at Muslims because they are the enemy. Now, here's the thing with black folks, okay, with black community that I absolutely love about our community, our people, black folks, okay? And again, I always say community, I always put that in air quotes because we got our issues and all of that too. But let's just speak in very general terms in this broadcast, okay? Black folks, wherever you go, I'll say in most places. I grew up in the Northeast, specifically in Philadelphia area. Black folks, you got Christians, church-going people. You have Muslims. Those are like the main groups. When it came to religion, you had like those are like the main groups, right? There's some little ones or whatever, but someone, like myself that grew up in my time period, 70s and 80s, that was the main groups. The Hebrew Israelite stuff didn't come till a little bit later. Like it was there, but it didn't become a big thing until a little bit. It started growing over the years, but Hebrew Israelite thing wasn't really a thing, when I was growing, at least in Philadelphia. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't really that big of a thing, when you compare it to Christianity and Islam, right? Now, we know that historically, in a grander sense, Christians and Muslims have always butted heads. I mean, this goes back, you're talking thousands of years, right? It's normal. But with black folks, I've never seen that. Like, I've never seen that. Black folk, you got Christians that will go, Muslims, they'll have like, I've seen Christians buy bean pies. You know what I'm saying? You got Muslims like that have like bookshops and stuff like that. You got Christians, black folks that will go in there all the time, regardless of religion. Muslims, they like, hey, we got this, that, or whatever. And, I've seen Muslims, even regardless if they're black Muslims or they're Muslims from, other countries or whatever, they sell different things and stuff. For the most part, there's some things that are there. I ain't gonna say it's all perfect, but for the most part, everybody tends to get along for the most part. For the most part, like I said, again, minus some of the other things, it's never anything big. People just tend to we just roll with it. You know what I mean? And then vice versa. Vice versa. My wife and I, we actually went to it's a really good Middle Eastern grocery store not too far from where we live. And they got a restaurant in there and all that. So it was good stuff. And it was funny. I walked in there and they had a big old Christmas tree in there. I was like, wow, this is something. But, you do have people from that part of the world who are Christians too. You got not Arab Christians, but, Syrians who are Christians. I think some Arabs, they have a Christian community and whatever. But you do have people who, just because they may be from that part of the world, that doesn't mean they're Muslims. You also have people who are Christians too. But it was very interesting to see a Christmas tree in a store that was clearly like that. You know what I mean? But they ain't care. I mean, we go in there and we ain't got no problem. The people are very nice, very nice. Customer service is very good and food is good, all of this stuff. I never have any issues. It's like that. So that's generally the experience that black community has had, right, when it comes to this. Now we're going to get into where what I'm about to say is probably going to scare some of y'all. Okay. Now enter in Hebrew Israelites. Okay. Now I just mentioned to you that, when you look at the conflicts between Muslims and Christians, that's usually something you see everywhere else. But within the black community, you don't really see that, right? It's not really there. You're not going to hear about, Christians really going in on, going to mosque and trying to get them to, I'm talking about black folks now, take it down and, they're a threat to our community and all that. You don't really hear that. Or vice versa. You don't really see Muslims doing that. But Hebrew Israelites, however, they are on record. We have it on record where they are the ones that march to these churches, will go right to their front door, challenge them. They'll be yelling at them on the street, calling them all kinds of names, really trying to agitate something to happen. They've also, have called out Muslims in the same way, but they do it in a way where they're really trying to start something. When we think about religious attacks by the religious within the black community, the only ones that we can honestly say that have a record on that, it's not really Baptists. You don't see black Kojic people going out here strapping bombs or, going on a mass stabbing on somebody. You don't really see black Muslims doing that. But I can name for you at least two stories of Hebrew Israelites. One that was in South Carolina that took place. They went into a Jewish house. This was in South Carolina, where the guy had a machete. He went into a Jewish home and was basically attempting to kill the people in that house. Then you had in New York, remember that? This is going back a few years, where this Jewish family, they were having their whatever they were celebrating or whatever. This guy who they said was a Hebrew Israelite who goes in there and basically starts stabbing people. Hebrew Israelite again. Then you had was it New Jersey? I think it was in New Jersey, where it was a Jewish corner store, a delicatessen. And you had this man and this woman who were, again, what they said they were tied to Hebrew Israelites, who also were who were planted a bomb or something like that in this store. Remember that? So that's at least 3 stories just right off top of my head. There's others, but we'll just go with that. Now, again, Christians got their own issues, right? These churches got issues, right? They got issues, okay? Black churches, okay? When it comes to black Muslims, they got their share of issues as well, right? Internal stuff. But you never hear of stuff like that happening, do you? I never heard of that. So who's the odd man out here? You remember I said a while back, I said, you are who you emulate? Well, that's what Hebrew Israelites are. They are exactly who they emulate. I may have a whole list of things that I don't like about Christianity, or I should say I just disagree with. Or same thing with Muslims. There's a whole list of things I could say I disagree with. But I don't, at the end of the day, I get along with both groups fine. And from my own personal experience, that's kind of how it's always been. I mean, even with other people. But this one group will spend a whole bunch of time on social media, on the streets, trying to antagonize both groups. I hope you're following me. Who's that sound like to you? Who's that sound like to you? You are who you emulate. So what I am proposing, what I would propose as black folks, it's number one, because you got to start isolating yourself. We are about protecting our peace, right? It doesn't matter if you want to be a Christian or a Muslim or whatever. You do you. I don't care. We don't, generally speaking, black folks really don't care. It's kind of an open door. People just say, do you. You know what I mean? But the people who are out here, cloaked in black skin, that are out here trying to antagonize people, those are the people I would say, as black folks, we need to start isolating ourselves from these individuals. I will even go further and say this. They should be tagged as a potential terrorist organization. That's what I would say. That's how serious we would have to be in this day right now. Because if anything is going to go down, you're not going to hear about a Baptist choir director going off with a machete going into a mosque. See, they know they can't do that. They're not going to be able to pull that off. They're not going to be, the powers that shouldn't be, they know they ain't going to be able to pull that off. Because black folks, will see that right off the rip. We'll be like, nah, okay, you clearly are fed. Or even if a black Muslim tried to do something like that, it got caught doing that. He had a whole van full of explosives and he was going to run it into the AME church downtown. We all know right off the rip that, okay, you fed. We'll know that right off. So that ain't going to work. But the one group who has already a history with doing that kind of stuff, oh yes, it's them. The ones that are trying to emulate the very group that has been doing this all over the world. So that's what I would say when it comes to that number one. In this day that we're in right now, is to keep your eyes on this stuff. We talked about, there's a couple of things. You look at, what's his name? The pastor, what's his name? The guy in Tennessee. All that stuff going on. He got properties all over but Pastor Dow, same thing. Y'all, I mean, I'll take a $1,500 for PSYOP, even on that. Even that. You can't see that ain't no PSYOP? You literally getting on social media and showcasing all of these guns. There's nothing wrong with having guns. I ain't scared of guns. It's not that at all. But you're like, shalom, Miss Wakanda. You don't, come on. Come on, y'all. Come on. And you remember I talked about another group, Hebrew Israelite group. They're engaged in this thing called, well, I don't know what they're doing now. I haven't followed them. I haven't checked them out in a minute. They're doing this thing called worship. Now, you remember I just mentioned the two things about the machete cases, right? Man, this whole thing, they would, and so these are Hebrew Israelites committing crimes with machetes. And right along the same time, this Hebrew Israelite group, they are regularly engaged in this thing. They don't call it worship, they call it worship. And guess what they were out there doing their praise and worship with machetes. With machetes, y'all. This was going on the same time that stuff was going on. All of a sudden, they on YouTube doing praise and worship with machetes, with spears, with bow and arrows, with knives, and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there scratching my head like, wait a minute now, what part of the Bible is this? And it wasn't until I saw, look, I was like, you know what? Then I start finding out a little bit more. I started finding out about other people within the Hebrew space and all that. I started finding out, did you know that this person's parent, they were part of intelligence? Then I found out about someone else. They were saying, he was part of this. It's a base in, I forgot what it is. It's a base in North Carolina, and they're known, he's part of the airborne division or whatever. But it just so happens that this particular division that he was part of, they're known for infiltration. And this is just me asking, just looking. It's all out there. It didn't take long. It wasn't like, I think such as, no, I was just looking. I literally said, when I first heard stuff, I was like, I couldn't even believe it. I was like, nah. Then I started looking at it. I was like, oh my goodness. I started finding out stuff more and more. I started seeing stuff, and I said, yeah, I don't want nothing to do with this. I don't have nothing to do with this. So again, we're talking about this whole video. We've been talking about that group, the chosen, them group, the Jewish folks, all right? And Israel, and how Mossad and all that, how they always setting fires all over the place. When you look at the black community, when it talks about it, because the whole goal for Mossad and all that is to get Christians and Muslims fighting one another. But when you look at the black community in its purest form, we ain't got no problems with both groups. We just roll. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got no problem. Shoot, if it was something if I was hungry right now and there was a Middle Eastern place down the street and they were Muslims or whatever, if the food's good, I'll go in there. I'll be like, hey, what's up? Don't spit in my food. That's all I ask. I say that to anybody. Don't drop it. Don't spit on it. Just cook it and give it to me and I'm good. But this is what I'm saying. But they try to push that. But black folks, we know that ain't, no. If we heard of a case where some black Muslim, or Nation of Islam member, got in a truck and he loaded it down with all kinds of bombs and he tried to drive it into a Kojic church, we will already know that's fed. We would see that a mile off. Or a gay choir director got so pissed off and he was like, I can't take it anymore. And I'm going to strap a bomb on me and I'm going to go down to the... Come on, y'all. We'll be laughing at... That's how obvious that would be. But it's that third group. I'm telling you. And I said it before. I'm going to say it one more time. I think as black folks, they should be tagged as a potential terrorist organization because they got too much of a history. They got way too much of a history of infiltration. We did a video where we talked about, what was this? This is back, I told you about, what was it? Jim Jones, right? Jim Jones in Jonestown down in Guyana. Remember I talked about that? But you also, many of you never heard of the story that involved who he used to be a pastor, but he was he got into Hebrew Israelite stuff. This was around the same time Jim Jones was going around. He also set up camp near in Guyana as well as a Hebrew Israelite. The name isn't come to me right now, but I have a video on it. He set up camp as a Hebrew Israelite. He set up a whole, like a small, it was a significant number of people, black folks who moved from America down to Guyana, and they got involved with the Guyana government in the whole overthrow. It was a whole CIA operation that was being led by Hebrew Israelites. I know what I'm talking about, y'all. We did a whole video and I went through all the details of this. So they have a long history of government infiltration, a long history of it. All right. So I'm just telling you that. Now, let me just share it. I know this one is this broadcast is a little long, but there's a lot to cover here. But I just want to show you this last thing here and what they're trying to do now. Let me refresh the screen here and I'll just bring this up. One of the things they're doing now, I thought this was really something. Here's what's her face? Cardi B. All of a sudden now, out of the blue, here's Cardi B. Check her out. I don't know if y'all caught this. Cardi B, she wearing a I don't know if this is not a burqa, what do you call whatever this is that Muslim women wear. All of a sudden now, Cardi B, she flexing. She wearing that. Well, she's in the Middle East somewhere. She's doing a tour, and they told her that she had to wear it. But this is more than a coincidence, y'all. All this happening, all of a sudden, out of all people, this woman out here is wearing that. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, you may dismiss that, but like, yeah, whatever. That's just whatever. She had to wear that because she's having a concert, a hijab. That's what it's called, hijab. This is another one here. She's wearing a hijab. She just so happened to be doing it. Just so happened. This is all happening all at the same time. Then, then on the other side, that's Cardi B. Then you got Nicki Minaj, who's out here all of a sudden now becoming pro-Zionist. Right here. This is Nicki Minaj here. She follows a pro-Israel Zionist account. And the name of the account is called Vivid. And I'm seeing other things she's doing now where she's slowly bringing in on her timeline, talking about, mentioning Israel and stuff like that. So here you got two skanky skanks now. One side is pro-Palestine or whatever, or is leaning in that direction. The other one, now all of a sudden she done found Jesus and now she's a Zionist and all this stuff. So you see what they're doing now. You see, so this ain't an accident here. They're doing this stuff intentionally, y'all. They're trying to get black people involved in this stuff. Let me mention this to you. The other thing I wanted to mention too. If someone were to ask me with all of this going on, because I do believe that this is only the beginning. I believe that we'll probably start seeing, even tomorrow, whatever. We're in the season right now, I believe, where we will be seeing more of these activities going on like we saw yesterday, like we saw today happening in Australia. I believe we're going to be seeing more of those things. And I know people say that a lot, but I truly believe we're in that time right now. But I think that because of that, my advice to black folks will be this, black Americans, is just be very careful. If you had whatever plan you have for travel, be it domestically or internationally, if at all possible, if you can delay it just for a little bit, my advice would be to do that. My advice would be to do that, especially now. If there's any way at all you could do it. Not because you as a black individual are going to be targeted. It's just that if you catch yourself in a very public place like an airport or a train station, all of these things are suspect. When the stuff happened in, was it Australia? Yeah, when the thing happened in Australia, they had a high alert in India because they said that India, they had a lot of reports saying that something was about to pop off in India. Not that I don't know any of y'all were planning on going to India, but my point is that these individuals, I have been listening and watching these people very closely on social media. A lot of these Jewish bloggers and podcasters and stuff, they have been saying over and over again, if you do not support us, if you don't support Jewish people, something bad is going to happen. They've been saying this over and over again. The Bible always says he's going to bless those that bless those, and he's going to curse those that curse them. They've been plugging that over and over and over again. And I listen to folks. When I hear stuff like that, I take it very seriously. You understand? So this is not about you being fearful or being scared. Nobody's saying that at all. I'm just saying for black folks, especially during this time, my personal advice as a friend, as a brother, I would say, just be very aware of your travels, especially during this time. Be very aware. Also, I'm keeping my eyes on the market. I'm looking at the crypto market right now. Very interesting how that's like falling and all that stuff. And I have my own views on the crypto market. Although I do believe that, people should invest in the crypto market or regular stock market and all of that. I would never suggest that people put too much money in the crypto market at all. I believe it's a setup. Ultimately it is. And I believe at any given moment, it's musical chairs. At any given moment, it's designed to bring everything down. But for now, you just be cautious, and, you want to, if you got a couple $1,000 or whatever, that's fine. But to put your whole life savings in that, no, I would never suggest that at all. I see that as a whole setup, especially when the majority of these crypto companies are based in Israel. I don't believe that. Once I saw that, I was like, oh, hell no. Nope. No way. I already see where this is going. Okay. So we covered quite a bit in this broadcast here. I'm telling you right now, yes, I am going to continue to keep my eyes and ears on this. Things are rapidly changing, y'all. I mean, daily. Things are rapidly changing. You got churches now. We showed you on that list, Kojic churches, the whole Kojic denomination. They have co-signed with Israel, saying basically that they are going to be the ambassadors for Israel. Kojic, AME churches have got on board with that, and other black churches that have got on this as well. So that means that the sermons that you're hearing coming across the pulpit are going to be basically coming straight from them. Let me say this too. It's really something as I'm kind of closing out here. This is really funny. I had thought about this. Would that be here or here? Okay. Let me just say this here. You know how in Christianity, you remember we did a video, this was over on our, other channel, Long Form History. We talked about when the Bible talks about, sheep and goats and what that really means when you look at it from a true historical perspective. We've been taught that, you got to be like a sheep. When it comes to Jesus, you got to be like a sheep, because a sheep, it's just going to do whatever it's told to do. Don't be like the old demonic goat, because the goat is independent. The goat thinks for itself. And, you don't want to be the goat. You want to be a sheep. Remember we talked about that, right? We did a deep dive in that. And what that really means is basically never ask questions, never press against the narrative, be a dumb sheep. And that's it. That's what Christianity teaches, right? Don't be the goat, right? So we went into all of that, right? One of the things that Christianity teaches is that you're supposed to forgive everybody. You're supposed to forgive, these people. You need to turn the other cheek. Christianity says this a lot, don't it? And we saw that demonstrated with Erica Kirk. The sheep and the goat thing played out perfectly with this whole Erica Kirk thing. Perfectly. Oh my gosh, perfectly. Let me show you how perfect it was. Erica Kirk, she could forgive the man who allegedly shot her husband. But Candace Owens, you all of a sudden, your eyes turn like this. I mean, you just, you know, and Legion coming out on that one. And then you, okay, well, what are you so mad at? She's just asking questions. But then when it comes to the person that actually murdered your husband, we're going to have to forgive them. Forgive. We have to forgive. And all these Christians like, oh, just perfect. Perfect forgiveness. Oh, perfect forgiveness. Oh, perfect forgiveness. Right? When it comes to the shooter, the guy that actually committed the crime. But Candace Owens and other people just asking questions and looking at what they're seeing with their own eyes and saying this don't add up. Oh, it's going to have to stop. We're going to have to pass laws that's going to have to curtail what people can say online. Okay, so that's that, right? Right. Follow me. So we're supposed to forgive that, right? But Jewish people, you know how many movies, I was thinking about this today. I said, you know how many movies that are out there where that's centered around where Jews are hunting down Nazis? And I mean, come to find out, there's quite a few of them. There's quite a few of them. The Stranger, the Odessa File, Marathon Man, The Boys from Brazil, The House of Garibaldi Street, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Music Box, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, The Debt, Walk on Water, The German Doctor, X-Men First Class, Captain America, The First Avenger, Operation Finale, Overlord, Inglourious Bastards, Kung Fury, The Rocketeer, Sisu, Hellboy, Dead Snow, The Dirty Dozen. Then you got TV shows. They got a whole list of those there. Then you got Wolfenstein, the game. I played that one. Sniper Elite series. I mean, y'all gonna tell us we gotta forgive, but meanwhile, y'all got a whole list of situations here where you are hunting down people for entertainment. You even got, in real life, they're finding people who were Nazi soldiers in their 90s and they're saying, oh, hell no, you still going to jail. But we're supposed to forgive. We're supposed to forgive and forget, but it's okay for them. Folks, it's all about, again, this is we're done here. This is why now you understand why on Somber Tree, on our YouTube page, we have spent so much time talking about the importance of thinking critically and understanding how your brain operates. Right? We explain, and we're going to get to that at some point. I'm going to continue that series. Talked about, you know, your frontal place here, we talked about this, we talked about your lobes, we talked about all of this stuff here. We talked about the details of it. We even talked about what herbs you should take to make sure you're heightening your brain activity and your brain function. That's why we've been pushing breathing exercises and all that other stuff, right? We've been pushing all this stuff because for whatever reason, we understood that a time is coming where you're going to have to start using this dimension, this part of the timeline that we're in right now. Your Bible will not be able to help you. Let me say it, okay? And then I'm done. The part of this timeline that we are in, your Bible will not be able to help you. It will not. Okay? You're going to have to start leaning on what you were born with. And it's not sinful. And I'm not telling you to worship it. I'm telling you, this is what you was born with. You were born with everything you need. The real you is beyond this earth suit. The real you is beyond that. And you need to start relying and depending on that. And the way you do that, you got to put yourself constantly in a place of silence where you ain't, none of this noise is around. It's just you and that's it. And that's when you begin to start hearing the real you. But everything you need, you've been equipped with. All right. And that's the time that we're in right now. You don't need a pastor. You don't need a TV. You don't need a televangelist. You don't need, this ain't about, well, I didn't pay tithes. No, those days are over. It's time for you to start trusting in what you've been born with. All right. One thing you were born with is good sense. It's time for you to start using that. Start questioning things, question people, question things. When you see things that it don't seem like it's adding up, that's your inside telling you, you know what? You better start paying close attention to that. You better ask more questions. Don't go with necessarily what the crowd is always saying. Go with what's being said internally here. Okay? And that's what we're about here, to get people to that place. All right. I think that's it. That's all I have for you. And as always, if you have any questions, anything to add to this conversation, be sure to put it in the community page, the comments below. And really appreciate each and every one of you. I know this was a long one. This is 2 hours, y'all. Oh my goodness, 2 hour long. But it was a lot, y'all. It was a lot. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. Listen, you take care, and we will be talking again soon. Take care now.